in what I can only describe as a twist of fate, she followed me and DM'd me. She gave me her accurate birth time and said drag me, of all things. Then she liked it, and it was the only comment on the entire post that she liked. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know it has been a minute, but y'all have been on my TikTok page harassing me to go into more detail about some of the stuff I've been posting recently, about some cool interactions and synchronicities that I've had with Fletch Daddy herself. And today I'm going to give the people what they want. And do a little breakdown of some backstory, some timelines with receipts, and some general thoughts and feelings about what has been happening, because it's been a wild ride, honestly. And we've revived my YouTube channel to go into these details because I just knew that I was not going to be able to do this justice in short form content. Things were just like definitely getting lost in my page. There was just like a lot there to kind of catch up on and go through. So I'm just going to put all the receipts here and put everything in timeline order, make it nice and easy. Yeah, I felt like we needed to do a long form for this. I've been thinking some thoughts, so I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to say all the things that I wanted to say if I tried to squish it into a really short 3-minute TikTok video. So here we are. Honestly, I have been thinking about using this page more, posting on this account more. So if you would like to see more of me in long form content, like, comment and subscribe to let me know. But yeah, let's get into the video. So first things first, we need to go over the backstory because it is very important to the plot later on. What you need to know is that I found Fletcher's music around the time she was releasing the Sex Tapes EP, and it found me in a very pivotal time in my life. I was going through a very similar breakup as Shannon and Cari seemingly were. And I was also going through that breakup with someone who was very similar to Cari, or at least seemed very similar to Cari. They gave off very much same vibes. The thing about my breakup with my ex was that she wasn't a great communicator. Let's just put it that way. So I never knew how she was really feeling. And that was something that was really confusing me throughout the breakup, is like I just had no idea what was going on with her. And she didn't seem capable of putting what she was going through into words. But when I came across the Sex Tapes EP, it felt like Cari was singing for her. It helped me navigate my own confusion, helped me understand a lot about my ex as a person and most likely how she was feeling. So really the EP was very meaningful for me because it helped me get through a really kind of weird and confusing time. And it wasn't so much that I was resonating with the music personally, even though I obviously liked how it sounded. It was meaningful to me because it kind of came to me at the right time, and helped me through a very difficult period, by kind of shedding light on what this other person who was very different from me might have been thinking and feeling and going through. So from there, Fletcher joined all of my queer artists that were like on rotation, and I just listened to all of their music very casually. I was never like a hardcore intense fan. I've never been one to go to concerts or anything where there's lots of people. It's very crowded. Like, it's just really not my vibe. But I do listen to music a lot, so I always have queer artists playing. So she was always there. And I think in hindsight, when I look back now, I think especially when she got on TikTok and I followed her, and I started seeing more and more of her stuff, especially when she was actually talking and like sharing parts about her life and maybe a bit more about her personality, I think in hindsight, I was definitely starting to get more intrigued by her. After having also listened to her music and understood from her lyrics that she's quite a complex person. I find complex people really, really, really intriguing. I'm a Scorpio Mercury, which is my chart ruler because I'm a Virgo rising, and it's also trining my Mars. And people like that, we just love really complex puzzles. So yeah, I definitely, in hindsight, I think very unconsciously found her very intriguing, and was definitely like maybe paying attention a lot more than I think I thought or realized I was. But yeah, I still would have considered myself a casual fan. And I think most of my kind of interest and intrigue was very below the surface. Like, I don't think I even realized at the time that I was finding this person really intriguing, and wanting to, yeah, maybe start to figure that little puzzle out. She really didn't consciously catch my attention until Becky's So Hot dropped, and when she did, at first it was like not at all in a good way. When Becky's So Hot dropped, I was actually super, super, super triggered by it, because at this point, Fletcher and my ex were very linked in my mind because of the way that I'd been introduced to Fletcher's music and how similar they just were in their vibes. So the song really sent me into a bit of a panic. So basically I was panicking about two things. The first was that the vibe of the song was just two very mixed energies. Parts of it were obviously super nice, super complimentary, but then other parts were, let's just say, a bit aggressive, or they came across very aggressive. And that really brought on some flashbacks about being with my ex, because when we would get in stressful situations with each other, her stress responses were fight and fawn, whereas mine were freeze and flight. So her stress responses were very challenging to me. They were very different to mine. And obviously the song kind of gives off a similar vibe to my ex when she's stressed. So half of it's like being nice, then the other half is like being really aggressive, and like the hitting line really just triggered some flashbacks about like her being so aggressive. I was like worried that she was going to hurt me. Obviously, I was aware that I was being triggered because of my situation with my ex, and my situation with my ex was only as bad as it was because at the time we were both very young and naive. I didn't understand, first of all, what her stress responses even were, and nor did I understand mine, how to manage each of our stress responses and kind of not let fights escalate as much as they did, to get to the point where they were so like emotionally aggravating. However, even though I knew that logically, I knew where everything was coming from and I knew why it felt a lot worse than maybe what it realistically was, it still kind of emotionally sent me to that same place, as if it was yesterday, not 3-4 years ago. The second reason why the song sent me into a panic was because I was personally finally in a really, really good place after my breakup. And I was really happy. I was talking to someone that I really liked. And the way that Fletcher dropped like a borderline, unhinged, chaotic song, just as Shannon was seemingly super happy, moving on, with Becky, kind of made me panic that my ex would do the same to me if she saw me with someone else, even though it had been so many years since we'd broken up. And that's ironic because I ended up being so triggered by this song that I basically just needed to self-soothe and just like chill for a bit. So much so that I didn't actually speak to the girl that I was talking to for a week. And yeah, when I had calmed down a little bit, I actually brought it to her and was like trying to be honest about what was going on for me and how I was feeling and what was coming up and why I thought it was coming up. And what ended up happening was that started to unwind that connection very quickly. obviously when you start talking about an ex, it's a very risky move in a newer connection. And when you start bringing up your stuff, it's a risky move. I'm super glad it went that way now, but obviously it was really challenging at the time for things to be going that way because I did really like her. But I think to receive that from someone, to receive them going through a difficult time, to have stuff triggered from their past, especially if they've had a difficult past, like had a bit of an unhealthy relationship with someone, that can take a lot to receive. Like, I think you have to be in a very like mature, secure place. And I think you have to really be able to depersonalize it, stay curious, stay open. And I think realistically, given that she was a couple of years younger than me, I think that might have been a bit beyond where she was in her stage of life in general. So yeah, that connection started to unwind from that. But it made me realize that as attracted to her as I was, it was actually really important for me to be in a connection where I could bring stuff to someone, just given kind of how my last relationship ended up going. Like, I really did need that kind of more mature place and someone to be able to be that container for me to bring stuff to. And it's also ironic that it kind of went that way where I was so triggered by this song that that connection fizzled out. Because the thing about me is I'm very much a one person at a time kind of person. I tend to only really be able to give one person at a time a lot of my attention, and then the rest of my attention's usually spread fairly thin. So because that connection fizzled out and I was no longer placing all that attention there, I now had a lot of attention to be placing elsewhere that I wouldn't have had I not been triggered out of that first connection. And so the logical place for me to put that attention was obviously to myself, to like work through what I was going through, but also to put that attention on Cari. And that's when my kind of ADHD hyperfixation started to lock onto her. And when my attention started to lock onto Fletcher, it was actually super helpful in assisting me to unpack a lot of the stuff that was coming up for me, because obviously Fletcher and my ex were similar. So I don't know, it was like this really good medium, because the person that I'd been talking to previously, I would say was maybe a bit more like me. And so they weren't triggering in that way, whereas Fletcher was. And so it kind of made me deal with some of my stuff. And then as I was self-soothing, calming down and like dealing with stuff, it also helped me to start to detangle Fletcher from my ex and kind of make them two separate people again, because my ADHD fixation was also kind of nutting out how she was different, and why I think it was more from the survival standpoint and just like understanding how not everyone is going to be like my ex. I think that was an important lesson for me to learn. And I think Fletcher seems like she is in therapy, like cares about her personal growth, spiritual growth, things like that, which my ex didn't necessarily care about. And so that was really comforting as well, to kind of detangle Fletcher from my ex and understand how Fletcher as an individual, representing like the potential for new people, wouldn't necessarily do the same thing as my ex would. And also, I was also mature enough to deal with my shit as it was coming up and not get into that same situation either. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I guess the bottom line is it was just very healing for me. It was at first very healing for me to have something to focus on that wasn't my ex, to see what was coming up within myself, what was being mirrored back to me from past pains that were still unhealed. And then for me to see Fletcher as someone who wouldn't recreate the same thing, the same dynamic with me as my ex did, even though they're a similar kind of person, but her actions just are different outside of her personality. Like, she goes to therapy, she reads self-help books, and she tries harder than my ex did. And so that kind of made me have faith in people, essentially, that you can be this way, this kind of personality, and still be capable of growing as a person and just becoming healthier in relationships, which is something, to be honest, I would have loved for my ex to have been capable of, but yeah, that wasn't the case. So I think that was very healing for me as well. And then plus separating them in my mind, making sure that they weren't super entangled anymore, was also helpful, just for the sake of then I can enjoy Fletcher's music without making it all about my ex as well. And it's, her music's still meaningful in the sense that it helped me understand something confusing in a difficult time, but yeah, now they're two very separate entities in my mind. So it was difficult, but I feel like everything kind of worked out for the best. And obviously, while I was doing all this work, I was having a lot of energy just building up within myself, like especially lots of anxiety and just like stress from like everything that I was like unpacking and learning and growing from. So it actually really helped to be able to start making TikToks, to be able to start being creative and making content with all that energy that I had, to kind of get it out and to help like process how I was feeling. And even though obviously I wasn't making content kind of literally how I was feeling, I still felt like I was getting out a lot of that nervous energy by turning it into something productive and creative. So that was really nice as well. And now that I'm really sitting down to reflect on it, it's like super wild that that much happened before anything happened. Like, so much stuff happened inside of me before I'd even interacted with Fletcher. But I think it was all very important. Like, it seems like all of that kind of backstory had to happen for me even to be open enough for the universe to attract in the kind of magic that I then went on to experience. And it's kind of just proof that like when you heal shit happens. So yeah, let's get into what happened after I'd done some personal healing. Now this brings us to the moment you've all been waiting for, the timeline of my Fletcher interactions. I'm gonna start way at the start. So this first one happened like way before all the other ones. It happened while I was like talking to someone else still. So this was kind of like a little teaser taste. But basically one of the first videos that I made about her was doing a birth chart reading on my other page, Wilding Astro, which she found, she commented on, and then I replied to the comment in a video. And this was kind of before I'd started making a lot of Fletcher content on my other channel. But yeah, basically after that first post, I started posting about her a lot more. And the next thing that happened was a ways down the track after that connection that I'd had with someone else totally fizzled out, and I'd been posting about Fletcher for a while, working through some of my stuff that had been coming up since Becky So Hot dropped, and we're getting closer to the Girl of My Dreams album launch. And Fletcher created a playlist that I figured out had the track titles hidden inside it. So I made a video about that, and then she posted that TikTok to her story the following day after she'd announced the track titles. And she'd said something like this aged really well, because most of them were like fairly accurate. And so she also commented on that TikTok, which I replied to and was just like, shock, I've been perceived. And then a few days after that, in what I can only describe as a twist of fate, she followed me and DM'd me. The conversation was very brief. It was about her album. She did tell me something that I'm just like not sure if she wants out there. So I'm gonna keep the conversation between us, keep it blurred, because y'all don't need to know everything. But essentially, straight after that, after she followed me, after we had that very brief conversation, I posted this TikTok, basically just being like, how do I do my account now that Fletcher follows me? So this is where it starts to get super wild. The day after she followed me and messaged me, and then after I'd made that TikTok about, oh my God, we're like TikTok friends, she posted a TikTok, and it was of her kind of acting out her big three. And what's interesting about this is that she'd almost never, as far as I know, posted about her any of her astrology placements. Like, it wasn't common for her to post about astrology. The sound also wasn't a trending sound in any astrological circles, so it's not like she would have seen it and then copied anyone. As far as I could tell, there was no people using that sound for any astrology takes at all. So the only logical conclusion is that she'd looked at my page, which I have my big three in my bio, when she was following me, when she went to message me, which I assume that's how she would have had to have done it, I assume. And that must have inspired her to make the video, I assume. Or that's how I interpreted it anyway. But I wasn't sure, so what I decided to do was I decided to comment on the post when I saw it, and I asked her for her accurate birth time. First of all, because I wanted it, but also I had a feeling that if she saw my comment and responded to it, that maybe it might give me more of a sign if that video was made for someone in particular. And she did see the comment, she did reply to it. She gave me her accurate birth time and said, drag me, of all things. Once she gave me her accurate birth time, I did need to take a few days for personal time because, yeah, when I looked at our synastry chart, it just revealed a lot of stuff, which I might make a separate video on at some stage, we'll see. So yeah, I needed a few days to process that, but eventually I did make a video replying to her and talking a little bit about her chart. Because she's a Libra rising, a Pisces sun, and a Gemini moon, I chose not to drag her because a Libra rising and a Pisces sun will definitely pull up super badass and act like they want that to happen, but they absolutely don't. They want people to be nice to them. So that's the route I chose, which worked fine for me because I'd rather not be like, I don't know how to drag people. I just want to be nice. So that's what I decided to do. But I did open the video with a joke saying, like, honey, don't ask for something that you can't handle. And what's interesting is that the next day, she then posted a TikTok of like daddy energy. And when I saw it, I was like, this is a bit sus, after I've just been like, don't know if you can handle me with coming at you bitchy. So I decided to comment on it again to try and suss if maybe this video as well was about someone in particular. So the video, because she'd had I think she had a key ring. I'm not looking at it right now, so I'm going to have to insert it later. But I think she had a key either on her ear or around her neck. And so I decided to comment, it's giving, I've got a princess handcuffed to my bed. And then what was super crazy was the next day on her Instagram, she posted a photo with King in the background. And I was just like, hang on a minute, didn't I just comment princess on her last, something about a princess on her last post? So I went back and checked my comment and I was like, is this about, I feel like this is responding to me. So I went back to the Instagram photo and I commented King Cari error. Then she liked it. And it was the only comment on the entire post that she liked. I went through and checked. Like, there was no liked by creator comments on any of the other, notes on any of the other comments. But I personally went through the likes list just to make sure that my comment was the only comment that she replied to. And so then I was like, okay, this is all almost definitely about me. And so at this point, I start making TikToks on my page being like, hey guys, this is mad sus, isn't it? Like, this can't be a coincidence that this is happening between me and Fletcher right now. And at this point, like, I don't think I really believe it still. I'm still kind of like, this must be the universe's greatest joke. This feels like, yeah, it was just super wild. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what is happening in the House of Commons? Yeah, so I was making TikToks about it, but like still kind of sus. But then the next day, after I just made 2 TikToks about the 2 previous incidents, being like, whoa, this is mad sus, guys. Like, what's going on? She posts another TikTok. And this, mind you, is the Girl of My Dreams album launch day. And she's posting a TikTok with recommendations of what you should do while you're listening to the album. And what's mad sus about this post is that I'd made a TikTok using the exact format that she used when she announced Sting, which was a single that dropped way before the launch of Girl of My Dreams. And she'd even, in the second place, used the same recommendation, which was tissues, which I assume if you're American, you would naturally write Kleenex. I don't know. I don't really know what y'all do. So I thought that was mad sus. And this was like before she followed me as well. So either old posts of mine were coming up and that post didn't do very well. So it's unlikely. Kind of what seems more likely is that she was on my page looking at shit. Stalking, you know? You know, it could have gone either way, but I'm just like thinking of the probability here. That's what seems more likely to me. And so I commented on it because I was like, I need to let her know that I see her. I see what's happening here. So I commented something from my TikTok that she'd not used on her new TikTok. So in my original TikTok, I said that you need your last will and testament because you're going to die. So I commented that on the TikTok. So once the third video dropped, or the third response or the third interaction happened, it was really, really difficult to chalk it up to coincidence. It was extremely difficult to chalk it up to coincidence. However, the thing you need to know about me is I'm on the spectrum. So even though I'm obviously very cognitively and emotionally intelligent, and I can gather that potentially Fletcher has a big crush on me, big lesbian crush on me, these things don't properly process for me. Like, there's something that can be in my head, but it's like a very fleeting thought. Like, it doesn't lock on unless I have something verbally confirmed. Like, unless you verbally confirm something to me, it doesn't become my reality. It isn't processed properly. It doesn't become, I don't know, it's like the difference between knowledge that's living in your body and like a really passing thought. So even though I knew that it was the most probable explanation for what was happening, yeah, I didn't feel it in my body. So yeah, it was just kind of like, for me, difficult. Because, yeah, I don't know, there's something about the way my brain works that it won't, I know neurotypicals, like, can read subtext and subtext goes through as if it's true, but, yeah, it doesn't go through as if it's true for me if it's all been said through subtext or implication. It doesn't become true for me until it's been verbally confirmed by someone else. It's just the way I am. From then on, there were still a lot of other things that were happening, but they were kind of more subtle. So it was too hard for me to tell if there were still things or not, because I know it looks like I pick up a lot of clues, but I am autistic, so it does take a lot of work. And when you go a little bit too subtle, it is really, really hard. Like, it is honestly really hard. So basically from here all of the things could be synchronicities, I guess, or she's just being super subtle. I'm just gonna call everything from here onward a synchronicity, because to me it's just too subtle. Like, I can't tell if it's a thing. If you think it's a thing, let me know, but yeah, I'm just gonna call the rest of these synchronicities. So the next synchronicity that happened was that on the Girl in My Dreams launch day, Fletcher went live, and in her live she mentioned something about her having like nail extensions, getting long nails for the release day so she could paint them. And in the video she talked about being celibate for 2 weeks while she had the long nails on, and it was absolutely lighthearted. It was a joke. But I decided to make some content out of that and made a video about kind of saying like, hey, it's crazy that you'd rather not have sex at all than just do something else. Then the next day after that, she posted on her Instagram story of her heading down to the beach for a show at sunset with Bruce Springsteen's song I'm on Fire playing in the story. And what's crazy about that is, first of all, I had a video pinned to my profile that is the if I were a trend, and I'd use sunset to describe myself as a time of day. Also, the song was on one of my ex's playlists talking about me. And that same day that she'd posted that, I'd posted a story using another song that my ex had on that same playlist about me. But I was using it about Fletcher. It was Starboy, I Feel It Coming. Like, because obviously by this point I'm obviously like feeling like something's going on, y'all. And so it was just like kind of odd that all of those happened together. Like, I'd just been talking about sex. There's a lot of like, obviously the songs about being sexually attracted to someone, then the sunset thing, then also kind of, this was more like my personal synchronicity about those two songs being on the same playlist. So yeah, it was just like really odd timing for all of those things to happen so suddenly and all together. And what makes all this even crazier is that the next thing that I remember happening after that is that Fletcher posted another story, this time with the song Really Small. However, the lyrics said something about honey in the actual video, so I was able to find the song, and I looked at the lyrics, and what was super interesting is that it heavily featured the words honey and angel a lot in the song. And in mine and Fletcher's very first interaction over message, she opened with, "Hi Angel," and I responded with, "Hey honey." And then the song that she decided to post on her story, super cryptically, featured an artist singing like Angel and Honey over and over and over again. But what made that even crazier was that that same song was on one of Shannon's old playlists. So just the same way that my ex's songs were now getting entangled into this thing between me and Fletcher, Shannon's songs were also now being entangled into this thing between me and Fletcher. Like, it was weird. It was like the universe threw out a Uno reverse card, but also was just interesting considering how important Fletcher and my exes were in our story anyway. Like, a lot of the story between us before we started interacting, like, both of our exes was very important in the story. So yeah, it's just, yeah, that kind of blew my mind a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Especially because not long before both of those things happened, I was talking to one of my astrology friends, Alyssa Sharp, she's the Divine Venus on YouTube, about how when we have these very sacred connections, that you can feel that other person through the person that you're talking to. And this was before Fletcher and I even talked. This was like, because all of this happened in a very short period. It was just like bang, 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 day after day. Like, literally maybe a few days before Fletcher and I even interacted for the very first time. after that initial interaction, like before she'd followed me or anything, I'd had this conversation with Alyssa about being able to feel those really important past lovers through someone that you're talking to. When you care about them a lot and when you care about them on a soul level, you can feel those people. So anyway, the next day I made another TikTok about Fletcher, like one of my regular Fletcher posts. And so I decided to use the opening bars of that song kind of under the video. I just used the part with no lyrics. However, yeah, people definitely put two and two together, realized that it was the same song. And also what was interesting was that someone commented on the video that I posted, talking about body language. And I wasn't sure if she was talking about Fletcher's body language in the video or my body language watching Fletcher's body language in the video, but in either sense, my body language obviously was mirroring Fletcher a lot, which if you're familiar with pop psychology, usually when people start to mirror each other, it means they like each other. But then what was super interesting is after I posted that video where I'm very obviously mirroring her, the next few things that Fletcher posted, she was very obviously mirroring me. The first thing I actually saw was Fletcher commenting on someone's video that came up on my FYP, and she'd shortened baby, B-A-B-Y, to BB, which I do literally all the time. Like in most of my previous TikToks before I saw that comment, if you go back and look at every caption, it'll have BB in it. So firstly, she'd obviously started mirroring my vernacular. Then secondly, what was super interesting was the next two TikTok videos she posted were definitely giving a similar vibe to some of my pin videos. So on my page, I have a pin video of me in a bikini and another pin video with me with a purplish light background. And the next two TikToks she posted, she had a purplish background and she posted a bikini video and made the cover photo purple lit background and her full body. It's giving her body is Bible. A couple of days later, I posted on my story me cooking Italian food with Italian music in the background. I was making a vegan bolognese sauce and pasta and gnocchi by hand. And then in her next post, she uses Italian music over the top of the video where she's listening to something else. And I went back and checked. When she's done this in the past, she has used modern music. So she deliberately used Italian music. But wait, there's more. After that, I posted another TikTok of my queer awakening, who was Nikki Webster at the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games. I would have been 7 at the time. She would have been 12 or 13. And I posted this little clip of her and just like some text saying, oh my God, just remembered my queer awakening. How did no one realize I was fruity? Then I think 2 days after that, which is a long time, normally she posts the next day, she posted this video and like her hair's done the same way and the lighting's even so weird in this video that her hair doesn't look the color that it normally is. It looks more similar to Nikki's hair in the video that I posted. A couple of days after that, I posted another full body bikini video on my page. And then the very next day, she posts this clip, which is funny because when I put it up, I was romanticizing myself in my head, as I love to do. And I was like, how would I love someone to respond to this clip if they were to duet it, for example? And in my head, at the time I was posting this, the reaction that I wanted was the exact same reaction that she posted in this video. Now, she doesn't know that I was romanticizing myself in my head and imagining her duetting that video and doing exactly this. And this is why this is another synchronicity that I feel like is just for me. So when I saw her video that she posted the next day, I was like, this feels like the universe and it's kind of cool. And yes, I get that in this video that she posted, the text kind of mad sus made me a little bit jealous, a little bit. that she wasn't making it about me, because I like when things are about me. But yeah, I feel like that synchronicity was maybe supposed to be more for me from the universe than it was supposed to be about anything else. So yeah, and that brings us to today, because that literally just happened. And there definitely could have been more things. I could have definitely missed some stuff, because all of this was, in my opinion, fairly subtle. And it was hard enough just to keep track of all of this. I definitely could have missed some stuff. Personally, I'm not sold on any of that kind of later stuff being deliberate, but even if it's not, it all feels very synchronistic to me, or like it feels like the universe is talking to me, even if it wasn't deliberate, even if it was like totally like just a whole bunch of coincidences. Yeah, there's definitely something there. It is a little bit uncomfortable for me, I'm not gonna lie, because I do like certainty. Unfortunately, uncertainty doesn't sit well for me personally, at all. In fact, it's actually quite stressful for me being on the spectrum. But there's really nothing that I can do about that, because offering clarity really is Cari's choice. Like, the only thing I could really do is offer clarity on my side, so I guess I would say, yeah, I have a big lesbian crush on you too, but yeah, I think all I can really do is just sit with it for now. But this brings us to the last part of the video, which is just going to be all the uncomfortable shit that I am currently sitting with because of all this stuff that has gone down. So the first thing I'm sitting with is, obviously I'm really into astrology. So one of the first things I did after I got Cari's accurate birth time was look at our synastry. And the 7 degrees difference between the public birth time, which was 6 p.m, and her actual accurate birth time, which was 6:38 p.m, the 7 degrees of difference that made on the lines of her chart, it changed some stuff. It was a real game changer. I actually had to have a couple of days time out just to process all of that. And also I obviously looked at the transit charts for the first time that we interacted properly, because the first time you interact with someone formally, like have a conversation with them, whatever's happening astrologically usually gives you a clue about the part that each person's supposed to play in each other's lives. So yeah, there was a lot of healing and love activating for both of us at the time that we spoke for the first time as well. So sitting with all of that was just like a lot. To see that potential written in the stars with someone like Fletcher, as someone kind of from a small town in Australia, like, I don't know, it was just wild. I really just needed a few days to process that. What was kind of weird about it though was, on a soul level, I was kind of like a little bit, of course, like totally cool with it. Like, it even made sense. Like, on a soul level, I was like, actually kind of, it checks out a little bit. Like, kind of what I've been able to gather that she was manifesting and what I've been manifesting. Like, I don't think it was very conscious. I didn't consciously put 2 and 2 together until I saw our synastry chart and was like, yeah, like the kind of person that I've envisioned myself being with, a lot of that kind of vibe is definitely here. So yeah, on a soul level, I was super cool with it. I would definitely say on an ego level though, I have felt extremely challenged. Like, there's already a lot of stuff coming up that definitely is on a very ego level, of shit that, yeah, it's just like not pleasant. It's like definitely coming from a more shadowy side of myself, which is funny because I recently wrote something on my like little writing page, and I wrote who tames the ego and wilds the soul, they're the one. And I wrote that no idea, like just no idea where it came from. I just wrote it. kind of feels like it's happening a little bit. Like, I definitely wrote it not knowing really what it meant, but right now I definitely feel like it's more like me trying to tame my own ego, but yeah, my soul feels free. I don't know, just food for thought, something to think about. So I definitely feel my ego struggling a lot right now. I've had a lot of insecurity and jealousy come up, especially, and just like her being a public figure and everything that comes along with that has definitely felt stressful. So yeah, I've been sitting with all of that a lot and like slowly unpacking deeper layers of what that's all about. Like, obviously, kind of the insecurity and jealousy stuff, this is like lifetime work for me. I've been doing this for like God knows how long, and I'll be doing it for God knows how long. So it's very personal work that I've been in for a long time. I will continue to be in, and I'm getting much better at self-soothing and understanding it. But yeah, it's definitely taken me into a deeper layer of it. Like, I felt more triggered in a more intense way with kind of my stuff because of all of this. I do feel like there is one thing that's kind of coming up more from my intuition though. So this definitely feels like it's coming from more of a intuitive or even boundary place. But obviously Fletcher's very honest with her lyrics, and she calls herself out sometimes, or even calls herself in, I would say, because like that awareness is really important. But when she calls herself things like fuckboy and serial heartbreaker, knowing that she has an Aries, Venus, Pisces, Mars, and Libra rising, like that particular combination, acting that particular way is definitely giving someone in their immature masculine energy, because Libra is a very relationally devoted energy, especially as a masculine. Aries is also, when it's mature, very devoted. It's associated with the Emperor card, which is the Emperor is totally in service of the Empress, totally in service of their lovers. And even Pisces, even though it is a feminine sign and the other two are masculine signs, it's very much about unconditional love. And if she swings into that more masculine energy, which I would guess that she would, that combination in acting very maturely to their own potential, to their real potential, is definitely a very devoted lover. It's definitely not giving fuckboy kind of inherently. So yeah, that's a bit of an amber flag for me with someone being in that immature masculine energy, because yeah, I'm definitely looking for someone really stepping into that divine masculine power, and I think that's a very conscious choice. It's like a very conscious choice to be in that work, because you don't just like step into it and suddenly you're there. It actually takes a lot of personal work, just the same as I continue to try and step into my divine feminine power through reparenting myself and trying to mature my feminine energy. I'm like triple feminine though. My Venus, Mars, and rising sign are all feminine signs. Yeah, I just feel like it takes a lot of conscious choice, and I just don't know if Fletcher has the same vision for her relationships, if she wants to be in that work with someone in the context of a relationship, or if she's even interested in doing that kind of work in the context of a relationship. And look, I totally get why she might not like be wanting to do that work right now. Like, I am sure if I had that many girls throwing themselves at me all the time, and if I wasn't demisexual, yeah, I would probably want to fuck around too. So like, I get it, totally get it. Like, no judgment if it's not for her. That kind of like work isn't for anyone, just anyone anyway. The only reason why it's really an amber flag for me is because I feel passionately about it. Like, that's definitely something I want to be doing. So yeah, please don't comment that I should shoot my shot or something like that, because I feel like it's just not on the cards for me right now, while I don't have this kind of clarity on these things. I think all shooting my shot with her would do would make me more uncertain about where she is with her masculine energy. Like if I was to take away that kind of intention, that pursuit away from her, yeah, I feel like I'd be more uncomfortable. I'd be more unsure about her in her masculine energy and where she's really at. Because taking whatever pussy is thrown at you is very much immature masculine. Like that's very Aries Venus that's not evolved. Just taking kind of whatever comes and not pursuing women that you actually desire with intention, with clarity, with vulnerability. Me shooting my shot is not going to be the solution. I feel like it'll only make me more unsure, which I really don't want that for myself. So definitely don't comment that. I feel like really the best thing I can do right now is keep observing, staying open, and to kind of just chill and just see how things pan out. Because I feel like if it's meant to be, it'll be. So that's the whole update. That's everything you need to know. That's the whole backstory, the whole confirmed timeline, all of the synchronicities / subtle things that I'm just like not sure if they're a thing or not, but at the very least feel like the universe is speaking to me, and also all of the thoughts and feelings that I've been having about this whole thing so far. Obviously I've had a lot of thoughts, so I'm glad I could do like a long format video to kind of go through everything, and feel like I'm doing it at least a little bit of justice. I feel like I didn't really do it justice. Like there's still a lot going on up here and I feel like I couldn't really express it that well. I hope it kind of made sense. But yeah, that's what's been going on. That's the full 411. That's everything you need to know. Yeah, that's the vibe. And that's, I think, all I have to say until I'm on this channel again, which who knows when that could be. So make sure you leave me a comment if you want that to be soon. But yeah, ciao.